The morning briefing started the way it always did. Lieutenant Declan Mercer, at the head of the table arms, cross-jaw set in that particular expression of a man who believed his authority was self-evident. 8 SEAL operators scattered around the conference room, some taking notes, most scrolling through phones they weren't supposed to have in secure briefings. And Vivian Ashford in the back corner chair, angled slightly away from the table notebook open to a page ready filled with neat handwriting. "All right, listen up." Mercer's voice cut through the low hum of conversation. "Commander Blackwell wants tighter ammunition controls. New protocols start Monday. Every round gets logged, every discrepancy gets investigated." Vivian's pen moved across the page, not taking notes on what Mercer was saying. She'd read the new protocols yesterday when they'd crossed her desk in logistics. She was documenting something else, a pattern that had been bothering her for 2 weeks. 3 supply deliveries, same vehicle plates, different driver credentials each time. Arriving during shift changes when gate security was stretched thin, her right hand found her left forearm without conscious thought, traced the scar through her uniform sleeve, the nervous habit she'd developed 3 years ago, when everything had fallen apart. "Questions?" Mercer scanned the room. His gaze passed over Vivian like she was furniture. She kept her voice quiet, professional. "Sir, regarding supply chain security, I've identified a potential vulnerability." The room went silent. Not the good kind of silence. The kind that happened when someone had said something awkward at a dinner party. Mercer sighed, actually sighed. "Ashford, what now?" "The ammunition shipments you mentioned. I've been tracking delivery manifests. There's an inconsistency pattern that suggests—" "Let me stop you right there." Mercer held up one hand. "You're worried about paperwork errors. That's what this is about." "Sir, it's not errors. The pattern indicates possible reconnaissance. Same vehicle, different driver's timing, that exploits our security gaps." Sergeant Owen Walsh snorted. Petty Officer Nathan Sterling, barely 23 and already convinced he was God's gift to naval special warfare, didn't even try to hide his grin. Mercer walked to Vivian's end of the table, looked down at her notebook, at the spreadsheets and delivery logs and careful annotations. "Ashford, you know what your job is." "Yes, sir." "Tell me. Out loud, dude." Vivian's fingers pressed harder against her scar. "Logistics coordination, sir." "Right, logistics, not intelligence analysis, not security assessment. You order supplies, you track inventory, you make sure the warriors have what they need to do warrior things." His voice wasn't angry. That would have been better. This was dismissive. The tone you use with children who'd interrupted adult conversation. "So how about you stick to counting bullets and let the people who understand actual threats do the security work?" "Sound good." Corporal Samantha Kendrick, the medic, looked uncomfortable. She opened her mouth like she might say something. Didn't. "Yes, sir." Vivian closed her notebook. 2 words. Flat, empty. The briefing continued. Vivian sat perfectly still, hands folded on the closed notebook, expression neutral. She'd learned this skill over 3 years. How to be present without being seen. How to take up as little space as possible. How to become invisible. But in the back of the room, sitting in the chair he occupied during every briefing, as the base's retired tactical consultant, Colonel Theodore Whitmore, watched. His 72-year-old face remained impassive, but his eyes tracked every micro-expression on Vivian's face. The slight tension in her jaw. The way her fingers hadn't stopped moving against her forearm. He wrote something in his own notebook. 1 word underlined twice. Repeat. The briefing ended. Personnel filed out, already complaining about the new ammunition protocols, already forgetting the quiet woman in the back corner. Vivian waited until the room emptied. Then she gathered her materials, stood, and walked toward the exit. "Chief Instructor." She stopped, turned. Whitmore hadn't moved from his chair. "I'm not a chief instructor anymore, Colonel, just logistics. You're whatever you choose to be." His voice carried the rasp of age and cigarettes he'd quit 20 years ago. "Your report, the delivery inconsistencies. You brought this up last week too." "Yes, sir." And Lieutenant Mercer explained that I should focus on my assigned duties." She kept her tone carefully neutral. Whitmore stood. The movement was slower than it had been 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but his posture remained military straight. "Walk with me." It wasn't a request. They left the conference building, headed across the base toward the training wing. The California sun hammered down, early September heat that made the asphalt shimmer. Young operators jogged past in formation, their cadence calls echoing off the buildings. One of them, a recruit who couldn't be older than 20, spotted Vivian and called out to his buddies, "Hey, it's Paper Girl. You get lost on your way to the copier." Laughter followed them for 20 yards. Whitmore's jaw tightened. "Say the word, and I'll have him running punishment laps until he vomits." "It's fine, sir." "No, it's not." He led her to the abandoned classroom at the end of Training Wing D, the one officially listed as awaiting renovation. Had been awaiting it for 3 years, ever since Vivian had requested it stay offline. Inside, a chessboard sat on one of the old desks. An ongoing game. White was losing. Whitmore moved a black knight. "Your turn." Vivian studied the board, saw the trap immediately. The knight move looked aggressive, but it exposed black's queen. She moved her white bishop, put the queen in check. "Better." Whitmore sat down. "You've been practicing. Every night before bed, like you taught me." She remained standing. This room held too many memories, some of them good, most of them complicated. "The delivery pattern you identified. Show me." Vivian pulled out her phone, brought up the photographs she'd taken of the manifests, the spreadsheet she'd built tracking every shipment for 6 months. Whitmore examined each one. His face revealed nothing, but she'd worked with him long enough to read the microscopic tells, the slight narrowing of his eyes, the way his breathing changed rhythm. "Berlin, 1985. He set down the phone. "I was CIA then, stationed in West Germany during the final years of the Cold War. My partner was a man named Daniel Brennan. Good operator, better friend. We ran weapons interdiction operations, stopped Soviet smuggling networks." He pulled out his wallet. From it, a photograph, black and white, creased from decades of handling. 2 younger men in civilian clothes standing in front of the Berlin Wall. "September 14th. We intercepted a major operation. KGB was moving weapons components through East Berlin, planning to arm insurgent cells in West Germany. We destroyed their cache, arrested 3 operatives." His finger traced the edge of the photograph. "And killed one, the operation leader, a handler named Alexei Volkov." Vivian felt ice slide down her spine. Alexei had a younger brother, Dmitri, 18 years old, new KGB recruit. The kid was there when we took down his brother, swore revenge, said he'd find me one day, that he'd take everything I loved. Whitmore's voice was flat, recounting facts. "When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Dmitri disappeared. Intelligence reports, Ayazarbakos suggested he went private. Mercenary work. Wet operations for whoever paid. He pulled up something on his own phone, a file from a classified intelligence database. The photograph showed an older man, maybe 58, with hard eyes and scars that told violent stories. Dmitry Volkov, age 58, former KGB Spetsnaz, suspected ties to Russian SVR, wanted for arms trafficking, assassination, terrorism. 2 months ago, one of my old CIA contacts reached out. Volkov's been active again, moving through South America, then Mexico, now California." Whitmore met her eyes. "The vehicle plates you photographed, they're registered to a shell company. The same shell company Volkov used for an operation in Afghanistan 18 months ago." Vivian's training kicked in, the tactical assessment she couldn't suppress even after 3 years of trying. "He's not here for random terrorism. He has a specific target. Package Delta." Whitmore stood, moved to the window. Outside, normal base operations continued. People who had no idea what was coming. During the Cold War, every major U.S. installation had hidden weapons caches, contingency planning in case the Soviets invaded. Most were decommissioned after 1991, but some were forgotten, lost in classified paperwork. Coronado has one. Sub-level 3 Vault 7, bioweapon developed in 1989, anthrax variant, engineered to be shelf-stable for decades, classified as Package Delta. His reflection in the window looked older than his 72 years. "It's been sitting there for 36 years. Only 5 people know it exists. I'm one of them. And Volkov knows. Volkov knows everything about me. He's had 40 years to research it, to plan, to wait for the perfect moment." Whitmore turned back to face her. But package Delta is secondary. It's valuable, yes. He could sell it for millions. But what he really wants is revenge. On me. On everything I built. On everyone I care about. The weight of those words settled in the dusty classroom. You think he knows about me? Vivian's voice was quiet. I know he does. Project Phantom wasn't as classified as we thought. Volkov has sources. He's been watching this base for months. Long-range surveillance. Signal intercepts. He knows about Ghost. Ghost. The call sign she'd tried to bury. The identity she'd run from. That's why you've been insisting on our weekly sessions. Understanding clicked into place. You weren't just keeping me sharp. You were preparing me. Berlin Protocol. Whitmore's expression was grim. Every scenario we drilled, every contingency we practiced, I was training you for this. For him. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me 3 years ago you could barely look at yourself in the mirror? You'd buried Ghost so deep I wasn't sure we'd ever get her back. He moved closer. And I wasn't certain Volkov would come. I hoped I was wrong, that he'd died, that he'd given up. That 40 years of hatred had burned itself out. But you were right. Yes. He pulled an envelope from his jacket pocket. Plain white. Unsealed. Inside a single piece of paper with 2 words in his handwriting. Leave now. Friday night, that's when he's coming. I can feel it. The way you can feel weather changing. I want you gone before then. Out of California. Somewhere safe. His voice roughened. I won't let him take you the way he took Daniel. What happened to Daniel? 1987, Vienna. Dmitri killed him, cut his throat in a hotel room and left his body for me to find. With a note that said, 1 down. Everyone you love is next. Whitmore's hands trembled slightly. I've lost enough people to that man. I won't lose you too. Vivian looked at the envelope, at the order to run, to hide, to be small and safe and invisible. 3 years ago she would have taken it, would have been grateful for permission to disappear. But 3 years ago she hadn't spent every week training with Whitmore. Hadn't maintained the skills even while pretending they didn't exist. Hadn't realized that Ghost wasn't something she could kill, only something she could deny. No, Whitmore's eyebrows rose. No, you trained me for this. Every session, every drill. Berlin Protocol wasn't just an exercise. You were showing me exactly how to fight someone like Volkov. Someone who knows my capabilities. Someone who's planned for years. She held his gaze. I'm not running. When he comes, I'll be ready. Vivian, you taught me to be Ghost. You don't get to tell me not to use it now. She moved toward the door. Friday night. What time? Whitmore was silent for 10 seconds. Then 2300 hours. That's when I'd attack. Skeleton crew. Most personnel off base for the weekend. Maximum confusion, minimum resistance. Then I'll be ready at 22:30. She opened the door. And Colonel, thank you for not giving up on me. Even when I'd given up on myself. She left before he could respond. Whitmore stood alone in the classroom. He looked down at the chessboard. The ongoing game. White's bishop had put Black's queen in check. But Black had moves left. Dangerous moves. He advanced his queen, put White's king in check. The game wasn't over, but the endgame had begun. And Theodore Whitmore, who'd survived 40 years of Cold War operations and watched too many good people die, had allowed himself a small, grim smile. Because if Dmitri Volkov wanted Ghost, he was going to learn what happened when you hunted the most dangerous prey. You didn't always survive the encounter. The next 3 days passed like the slow burn of a fuse toward explosive. Tuesday, Vivian went through her normal routine. Work, paperwork, inventory management, the invisible logistics officer. But she started carrying a knife. Small, concealed. The blade she'd kept in a locked box for 3 years. The grip felt familiar against her palm, like coming home to a place you'd tried to forget. She worked late, after most personnel had left, drove by the perimeter fence on her way home, noted the gaps, the blind spots, the 17 seconds between camera sweeps on the east side. If she wanted to infiltrate the base, she could do it in her sleep, which meant Volkov could too. Wednesday morning, she found a note in her locker. Plain paper, No signature. I know what you're planning. Don't. Leave while you can. Boo Whitmore. Still trying to protect her. Still believing she needed protection. She burned the note in the parking lot, watched the paper curl and blacken. Some messages didn't deserve answers. Wednesday afternoon, she borrowed a set of night vision equipment from the armory, logged it under a fake requisition, added it to the tactical gear she was assembling in her apartment. The vest with ghosts stenciled across the chest, the one she'd sworn she'd never wear again. It fit perfectly, like it had been waiting. Wednesday night, she didn't sleep. Instead, she sat at her kitchen table with Volkov's intelligence file, studied his history, his methods, his pattern of operations. He was patient, methodical, brutal. Every operation was planned months in advance, every contingency accounted for. He didn't leave survivors who could identify him, didn't leave evidence that could be traced. Except once, Berlin, 1985. Whitmore had stopped him, had killed his brother, had left him alive with the humiliation of failure. 40 years was a long time to carry hatred, long enough for it to become identity, purpose, religion. Vivian understood that. She'd carried guilt for 3 years. Let it define her, transform her, make her into someone small and afraid. But guilt and hatred had one crucial difference. Guilt could be resolved, could be transformed into purpose, into the determination to never fail again. Hatred just made you predictable. Thursday, the first sign appeared. A black SUV in the parking lot. Rental plates. Tinted windows. It arrived at 0900. Stayed until 1100. Left without anyone entering or exiting. Surveillance. Confirmation of patterns. Final reconnaissance before the operation. Vivian photographed it from her office window. Ran the plates through a database she wasn't supposed to have access to. The rental agreement was corporate, a holding company registered in Delaware. No names, no trail, professional work. She forwarded the information to Whitmore through an encrypted message. His reply came in 60 seconds. They're confirming the schedule. It's happening. Please reconsider. She didn't reply. Thursday afternoon, she visited the base medical clinic. Told Corporal Kendricks she needed a vitamin B shot. Exhaustion, long hours. The medic believed her because why wouldn't she? While Kendrick prepared the injection, Vivian palmed a combat medical kit from the supply cabinet. Bandages, hemostatic gauze, morphine ampules, the things you needed when people started bleeding. You okay, Ashford? Kendrick's voice held genuine concern. She was one of the few people on base who'd never mocked Vivian, who'd treated her like a human being. I'm fine, just tired. You sure you seem, I don't know, different? Vivian met her eyes. 25 years old, talented medic, good person. Probably going to die Friday night if Vivian didn't stop what was coming. I'm just ready for the weekend. She managed a small smile. Thanks for the shot. Outside, she sat in her car for 5 minutes, hands on the steering wheel, breathing controlled. Tomorrow night, Kendrick and the others would be in the operations center, right where Volkov would hit first, right in the kill zone. Vivian couldn't warn them. If she tried, they'd either think she was crazy or they'd investigate. Either way, it would alert Volkov that his operation was compromised. He'd abort, disappear, wait for another opportunity. And Whitmore would spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, waiting for the knife. No. This ended Friday, one way or another. Thursday night, she assembled everything: the tactical vest, the knife, night vision, the Glock 19 she'd kept despite regulations saying she should have turned it in. The weapon that had once been standard issue for Chief Instructor Mitchell. For Ghost. She checked the magazine. 15 rounds. Checked the chamber. Empty. Loaded 1 round. Now 16 total. Not enough for a prolonged engagement, but enough. She set 2 alarms. One for 2,000 hours. One for 2,200. Friday night would require precision, timing, the ability to be exactly where she needed to be without being seen. Ghost's specialty. She tried to sleep. Failed. Instead, she lay in the darkness and thought about Whitmore, about the old man who'd given her a purpose when she'd had none, who'd seen potential in a broken woman and refused to let her quit, who'd lost a partner to Volkov's revenge and was about to lose a student unless she was smart enough, fast enough, good enough, no pressure. At midnight, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The game begins tomorrow, Ghost. I've waited 40 years to meet Whitmore's masterpiece. Don't disappoint me. D.V. Volkov. He knew her number, knew she was preparing, knew she'd fight, and he was confident enough to announce it. Vivian typed a reply, deleted it, typed another, deleted that too. Finally, she sent 3 words. See you soon. His response came immediately. Yes, you will. Friday arrived with perfect California weather. Clear skies, 75 degrees. The kind of day that belonged in tourism commercials. The kind of day when nothing bad should happen. Vivian went to work. Normal routine, paperwork, inventory, lunch in her office. She avoided the mess hall, avoided Mercer's afternoon briefing, avoided everyone. At 1600 hours, she left early. First time in 3 years. Nobody noticed. She drove home, showered, ate a high-protein meal, fuel for what was coming. Then she laid out her gear, checked every piece, made sure everything was ready. At 2000 hours, she dressed. Black tactical pants, dark compression shirt, the vest, the knife on her belt, the Glock at the small of her back, extra magazine in her pocket. She looked at herself in the mirror. For 3 years, she'd seen Vivian Ashford, the small woman, the invisible logistics officer, the person who'd hurt someone and couldn't forgive herself. Tonight, she saw someone else. Chief Instructor Vivian Ashford, call sign Ghost, the woman who'd trained 73 SEAL operators, who'd learned from the best, who'd buried herself in guilt but hadn't died. Just waited. At 2200 hours, she drove toward the base, not to the main gate, to the east perimeter, the blind spot, the 17-second gap. She parked 3 blocks away, approached on foot, stayed in the shadows, reached the fence at exactly 2227 hours, 3 minutes to be in position before Volkov's scheduled attack. She went over the fence like smoke, silent, efficient, the kind of insertion that left no trace. Ghost protocol, the thing Whitmore had drilled into her until it was muscle memory. Inside the perimeter, she moved through the base, avoided the main paths, used maintenance corridors and delivery routes. The paths nobody watched because nobody thought about them. She reached a maintenance shed adjacent to the operations center at 2235 hours, 5 minutes early. Perfect. From here, she had clear sight lines, could see the approaches, could see the operations center entrance, could see Mercer and his skeleton crew through the windows. 8 operators, including Kendrick, including Sterling, including Walsh, people who'd mocked her, dismissed her, treated her like she was invisible, people she was about to save. At 2250 hours, she keyed her radio to the base security frequency, listened, normal chatter, gate checks, patrol reports, nothing unusual. At 2255 hours, the lights went out. Not just the operations center, the entire base, complete blackout. Emergency generators kicked in after 5 seconds. Red emergency lighting, but the damage was done. Communications disrupted. Security systems offline. Response protocols delayed. Exactly as expected. At 2257 hours, the first explosion. Not massive, controlled. Shaped charge at the armory, followed immediately by 2 more. Communications hub, vehicle depot, precision strikes designed to cripple response capability, Volkov's signature, personnel poured out of buildings, confused, shouting, the beautiful chaos of a plan collapsing, and through it all moving with professional discipline, 12 figures in tactical gear, 3 teams, 4 operators each, heavy weapons, night vision. They moved like water around the confusion. Avoided contact, converged on the operations center. Vivian counted them, memorized positions, identified loadouts, M4 rifles, sidearms, flashbangs, breaching charges. This was a military operation, not terrorism, not random violence, surgical strike. The lead team reached the operations center entrance, planted breaching charges. Vivian wanted to move, to warn them, to do something. But Ghost Protocol said watch, assess, wait for your moment. So she watched. The charges blew, the door disintegrated, flashbangs followed, concussive blasts even from 200 feet away. Then gunfire, controlled bursts, Professional trigger discipline. Through the window, she saw muzzle flashes, saw personnel dropping, saw the tactical teams pouring inside like a flood. The shooting lasted 18 seconds, then silence. At 23:02 hours, a black SUV arrived, armored, expensive. The same one from Thursday's surveillance. Dmitry Volkov stepped out. Even at this distance, even in the red emergency lighting, Vivian recognized him. The way he moved, the confidence of a man executing a perfect plan. He walked into the operations center like he owned it. Vivian's radio crackled. She'd tuned it to the frequency Whitmore's intelligence had identified. Volkov's tactical channel. Phase 1 complete, 8 hostages secured, 3 enemy KIA, casualties none. Package Delta location unknown. Beginning interrogation. 3 killed, Walsh and 2 others, dead in the initial assault, because Vivian hadn't warned them. Couldn't warn them without compromising the operation. The arithmetic of war. Some die so more can live. She'd learned that in Project Phantom. Had tried to forget it. Couldn't. Through the operations center windows, she saw figures moving, personnel being zip-tied. Mercer dragged to a chair, blood on his face. Volkov circling him like a predator. The radio crackled again. Volkov's voice, accented, cold. "Where is package Delta?" Silence. "Lieutenant, your silence is admirable, but pointless. Tell me what I want to know. Your men die quickly. Refuse, they die slowly." More silence. "Bring the woman, the medic. Perhaps she's more reasonable." Vivian saw Kendrick drag forward, saw the pistol put to her head, saw Mercer's face collapse. The weight of command, the choice no leader wanted to make. "Sub-level 3, his voice distorted by distance and radio broke. "Vault 7, access code Alpha Delta 779er. Volkov lowered the weapon. "See cooperation. Very American." He issued orders. 8 of his 12-man team headed out, moving towards sub-level 3, toward package Delta. 4 remained in the operations center as guards. Better odds. Still terrible, but better. Vivian made her decision. She climbed down from the shed, moved toward the operations center. The 8 hostiles heading to the vault passed within 20 feet. She pressed herself against a building. Controlled breathing, invisible. They never saw her. She approached the blown entrance, stopped 10 feet away, close enough to hear, too far to act. Not yet. Inside, Volkov was on his phone, coordinating. His 4 guards maintained positions at the corners. Professional spacing, good fields of fire, difficult to approach without being seen. The hostages, Mercer, Kendrick, Sterling, 2 others, sat zip-tied against the far wall, terrified, beaten, waiting to see if they'd live. Volkov's radio crackled. "Package Delta located. Vault requires biometric authentication plus code. We're locked out." Volkov's expression darkened. He turned to Mercer. "You lied." "Yeah." Mercer's split lip bled. "That's what we do. We protect assets." Volkov pulled his pistol, pressed it to Mercer's temple. "Then you're useless." And that's when Colonel Theodore Whitmore walked through the door. No weapon, hands raised. His 72-year-old frame looking suddenly fragile in the emergency lighting. Behind him, 2 of Volkov's men. They'd captured him. Brought him here. Vivian's breath stopped. No, this wasn't the plan. Whitmore was supposed to stay away, stay safe. That was the whole point. Volkov's face transformed, 40 years of hatred crystallizing into this single moment. "Whitmore." "Dmitry." Whitmore's voice was steady. "Let them go. This is between us." "Oh, I will let them go after I kill you, after I make you watch your precious student die first." Volkov's eyes scanned the room. "Where is she? Where is Ghost?" From her position outside, Vivian's hand moved to her Glock. She could take the shot, drop Volkov through the window, but his men would kill the hostages before she could engage them all. The tactical picture was wrong. Not yet. Wait. Whitmore's eyes found the blown doorway, found her position. He knew she was there, could feel her presence the way he'd always been able to. "Ghost is gone." His voice was heavy. "Broken. You already won, Dmitry. The video footage you fabricated, the frame job, it destroyed her. She ran 3 days ago. halfway across the country by now. Volkov studied him, looking for the lie. You're protecting her. I'm telling you the truth. The daughter I built, the warrior I trained, is gone. You took her from me. Whitmore's voice cracked, not acting. Real pain. Just like you took Daniel. Just like you destroy everything. Volkov lowered his weapon slightly. Then you die knowing you failed. That your legacy is nothing. That I won. He raised the pistol again, aimed at Whitmore's chest. Any last words, old man? Yes. Whitmore's voice was calm. Berlin Protocol, Step 1. Then he dropped flat to the ground. And Vivian moved. She came through the doorway in a combat crouch. The first guard was watching Whitmore. Never saw her. She drove her knife up under his ribs, angled toward the heart. The blade punched through his vest at the gap. He gasped, fell. The second guard turned. Vivian was already moving. She used the falling body as cover, rolled, came up inside his reach, drove her elbow into his throat, grabbed his rifle as he dropped, turned it on the third guard. 3-round burst, center mass, he went down. The fourth guard had better instincts. He'd moved to cover, concrete pillar, laid down suppressing fire. Bullets tore chunks out of the walls. The desk Vivian dove behind. She counted rounds. 15, 20, 25. He was panic firing, wasting ammunition. The shooting stopped. Magazine change. Vivian rose. Acquired target. Fired. The guard stumbled. Hit in the shoulder. Not fatal, but he was down. 4 guards neutralized. 14 seconds elapsed since Whitmore's signal. Vivian turned toward Volkov. He'd moved during the chaos. Grabbed Kendrick. Human shield. Gun to her head. Awesome. There she is. His voice held admiration and hatred. Ghost. Even better than the legends. Vivian aimed the rifle at him. Let her go. Or what? You'll shoot through her? I don't think so. Whitmore made you too human. Too soft. He backed toward the exit. You can't save everyone, Ghost. Choose. Stop me or save them. Mercer, still zip-tied, shouted, Take the shot. Don't let him. Step 4. Whitmore's voice quiet but clear. Remember. Step 4. Berlin Protocol. Redirect the threat. Change the tactical picture. Vivian shifted aim, not at Volkov, at the structural support behind him. The concrete beam already damaged by the breaching charge. She fired. 3 controlled shots. The beam cracked, shifted. Debris fell. Volkov flinched. His grip loosened. Kendrick, trained to stay calm, in crisis, dropped her weight, made herself dead weight, pulled free. Vivian fired. Volkov threw himself backward through the door. The shot missed by inches. He disappeared into the darkness. Vivian started after him. No. Whitmore's voice stopped her. First rule, protect your people. He was right. The hostages were still zip-tied, still vulnerable, still her responsibility. She moved to Mercer, cut his bonds with her knife. He stared at her like she was a ghost made flesh, which in a sense she was. Ashford, what the hell are you? I'm Ghost. She moved to the others, cut their restraints, and we're not finished, because Volkov's 8-man team was still in sub-level 3, going for package Delta, and she just revealed herself, announced to the world that Ghost was real, was here, was fighting. Her radio crackled. Volkov's voice, directed at her. Impressive, Ghost, but you've made a mistake. My men have reached the vault, and they have something you'll want to see. A different voice came through, younger, familiar, Nathan Sterling. Sorry, LT, they're paying way better than the Navy. Mercer's face went white. Sterling, you son of a bitch! Sterling has biometric access, Whitmore said quietly. He worked maintenance in sub-level 3 last month. His prints are in the system. The radio crackled, Sterling's voice triumphant. Vault open, package Delta acquired. We're good to go, boss. Volkov's laugh was cruel. You saved 8 people, Ghost. Congratulations. But I have what I came for, a bioweapon that will make me very rich, and your base will burn because you couldn't stop me. Whitmore grabbed Vivian's arm. The QRF was 8 minutes out when the attack started. Mercer checked his watch. Should be here in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Volkov could be off the base in 90 seconds. Could disappear with package Delta. Could sell it to terrorists. Could kill thousands. Vivian looked at Whitmore, the old man who'd saved her, who'd never given up on her, who'd trained her for exactly this moment. Go. His voice was quiet, final. Finish it. That's an order. She grabbed a tactical radio from a fallen hostile, keyed the frequency. Sterling, I'm coming for you. And when I find you, you'll wish Volkov had killed you first. She ran into the darkness. Behind her, Whitmore's voice. Berlin Protocol Step 12. Step 12, the endgame. Where ghosts stopped being invisible and became inevitable. The hunt had begun. Sublevel 3 was 200 yards from the operations center, across open ground now filled with smoke from the burning vehicle depot, through the chaos of base personnel responding to the attack, past military police scrambling to establish a perimeter. Vivian moved through it like water through stone, not running, controlled advance, staying low, using smoke and shadow. The rifle in her hands felt foreign, not her weapon, stolen from a dead hostile. She checked the magazine as she moved. 23 rounds remaining, not enough for 8 targets. The entrance to Sublevel 3 was a reinforced steel door set into a concrete bunker. Cold War construction, built to survive nuclear strikes. The door stood open. Red emergency lighting spilled out like blood. Vivian approached from an oblique angle. Scanned for sentries. Nothing. They were all inside. Confident. Why worry about security when the enemy was already defeated? She reached the doorway, pressed her back against concrete, listened. Voices echoed up from below. Russian, English. The clipped professional tones of soldiers executing a plan. Package secured, preparing for extraction. Copy, Rally Point Pier 7, vehicles inbound, ETA 3 minutes. 3 minutes. They'd be gone before the QRF could intercept. Gone with enough weaponized anthrax to devastate a city. Vivian moved into the stairwell, 30 feet down, concrete walls, metal railings, no cover. Anyone looking up would see her immediately. She descended anyway. Silent steps, weapon ready. Professional movement. At the bottom, a corridor stretched 40 feet, flickering fluorescence. At the far end, the vault door stood open. 3 tons of steel that had protected Package Delta for 36 years. Inside, she could see movement, bodies shifting, men working. 8 hostiles plus Sterling. 9 total. The corridor was a fatal funnel. If she walked down there, they'd cut her apart. Whitmore's voice in her memory. Berlin Protocol Step 12. When the enemy has superior position, superior numbers, and superior firepower, you don't attack their strength. You create a new battlefield, one where you have the advantage. Vivian looked up. Drop ceiling, acoustic tiles hiding infrastructure, pipes, electrical conduits, ventilation. She climbed, used the metal railing to reach the ceiling, pushed aside a panel, pulled herself up. The panel slid back into place. Invisible. The crawl space was cramped, 2 feet of clearance. She moved forward on elbows and knees. The rifle dragged behind her. Dust coated her face. Her lungs wanted to cough. She didn't let them. Below, voices grew louder. She was directly above the vault. Through gaps in the panel, she could see them. 8 men in tactical gear, professional spacing, weapons ready. In the center, a metal case with biohazard symbols. Package Delta. And beside it, Nathan Sterling, 23 years old, baby-faced, checking his phone, probably calculating his blood money. One of the Russians spoke. Sterling, confirm weapon stability. Sterling opened the case. Vivian couldn't see inside from her angle, but she saw his face. Brief fear, then forced confidence. Stable, sealed containment. We're good to move. Close it. We leave in 90 seconds. Sterling sealed the case. One of the Russians took it, started toward the corridor. Vivian had seconds to decide. Let them leave and hope to intercept at the extraction point. Or stop them here, now. While she had surprise. 1 versus 9. Impossible odds. But if they reached the vehicles, the odds became 0. She made her choice. The ceiling panel directly above the hostile carrying Package Delta. She marked it. 3 seconds of planning that had to be perfect. Violence of action. Speed. Surprise. Aggression. Whitmore's 4 elements of overwhelming numerical advantage. She drew her knife. Left hand, the Glock in her right. Awkward, unbalanced, it would have to work. 3 controlled breaths, then she dropped through the ceiling. The panel exploded downward. Vivian fell with it. 8 feet, landed on the hostile carrying package Delta. Drove him to the ground. The case clattered away. Her knife found the gap between vest and helmet. Soft tissue, critical blood vessels. He stopped moving. The other 8 reacted with professional speed. Spread out, sought cover, brought weapons to bear, but Vivian was already moving. Rolled off the body, came up firing. The rifle barked. 3 round bursts. Controlled. Efficient. The nearest hostile took rounds in the chest. Body armor stopped them, but the impact staggered him. Vivian closed the distance. Used the rifle as a club. Smashed the stock into his faceplate. Polycarbonate cracked. Nose broke. He went down. 2 down, 7 remaining. Gunfire erupted. Muzzle flashes lit the vault like strobes. Concrete chips exploded. Dust filled the air. Vivian threw herself behind a support column. Rounds hammered the concrete. She was pinned. They had her position. They'd flank in seconds. Sterling's voice high and panicked. "It's her! It's Ghost!" One of the Russians barked orders. Team 1 flank, left. Team 2 suppress fire. She's alone. Overwhelm her. Vivian's mind calculated. The tactical picture was collapsing. She needed chaos, needed to break their formation. Her hand found a flashbang on the vest of the hostile she'd killed. She pulled the pin, counted 2 seconds, threw it down the corridor. The detonation was deafening. The flash burned white through closed eyelids. She'd been ready. They hadn't. She moved during their blindness. Circled the column, came at them from a new angle, found 2 hostiles stumbling. Disoriented, put them down with controlled shots. Headshots. The helmets couldn't stop rifle rounds at point-blank range. 4 down, 5 remaining. The rifle clicked empty. She dropped it. Drew the Glock. 15 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, 16 total. Still not enough. The remaining 5 had recovered. They were coordinating now, moving in formation, professional, disciplined. They'd accepted Ghost was real, was dangerous, and they were adapting. The tactical situation was simple. She was outgunned, outmaneuvered, running out of options. When you can't win the fight in front of you, create a different fight. The vault, still open, 15 feet behind the hostile formation. Inside, emergency lighting showed shelves, equipment, old Cold War supplies. Vivian sprinted, not toward them, away, toward the vault. They opened fire. Rounds snapped past her head. One grazed her shoulder. Hot pain. She ignored it. She made it inside, slammed against the far wall. The hostiles converged on the vault entrance. She was trapped, exactly where she wanted to be. Because the vault had something they'd forgotten, something Vivian remembered from security briefings 3 years ago. An emergency lockdown system. Big red button protected by plastic cover. Wall mounted, 6 feet from her position. She fired 3 rounds at the approaching hostiles. Forced them to cover. Bought 2 seconds. She smashed the plastic cover with her elbow. Hit the button. Alarm shrieked. The massive vault door began to close. 3 tons of steel on hydraulics. Slow, steady, inexorable. The hostiles realized what was happening. Rushed forward, tried to reach the door. 2 made it through. 3 didn't. The door shut with a sound like the end of the world. Hermetic seal. Airtight. Soundproof. Vivian and 2 hostiles, trapped in a 20 by 20 foot concrete box. The first hostile raised his rifle. Vivian had been expecting it. Been ready. 2 shots. Center mass. He dropped. The second was smarter. Took cover behind a metal shelf. Blind fired around the corner. Suppressing her. Keeping her pinned. "Sterling Rebellion," the hostile is shouted. "The case get package Delta." Because Sterling was in the vault too, had been checking supplies when Vivian triggered lockdown. Now he stood in the corner, unarmed, terrified, staring at Ghost like she would death personified. which she was. Don't. Vivian's voice was empty, cold. Don't even think about it. Sterling looked at the metal case, 3 feet away, then at the hostile providing cover, then at Vivian. He grabbed the case. Vivian shot him in the leg. The Glock barked once. Sterling screamed, dropped the case, crumpled to the floor, clutching his thigh. Blood poured between his fingers. I warned you. No emotion, just fact, just consequence. The remaining hostile stepped out from cover, all or nothing. His rifle came up, so did Vivian's Glock. 2 professionals, equal skill, equal determination. 40 feet apart. The difference was Vivian had spent 10 years training to be faster than anyone, to see the shot before it happened, to be Ghost. She fired first. 4 rounds, 2 hit armor, 2 found gaps, neck, pelvis, critical hits. He fell. Silence except for Sterling's sobbing. Vivian walked to him, kicked away his phone, his radio, anything he could use. Then she zip-tied his hands with his own restraints. You're bleeding out. She examined the leg wound, arterial. Without treatment, maybe 20 minutes. Where's Volkov? Gone. Sterling's face was white with shock. Left through north perimeter. Extraction vehicle. He's off base. Vivian checked his pulse. Thready, weak. He was telling the truth. People facing death rarely lied. She pulled a tourniquet from her vest, applied it above the wound, tightened until bleeding slowed. Not from kindness, from practicality. Sterling would face court-martial, would tell everything, would help track Volkov. You're under arrest for treason, she said it formally. By the book. Medical is coming. Don't move. Sterling just whimpered. Vivian picked up package Delta. The case was heavier than expected. Inside, death waited, weaponized, efficient, ready to kill thousands. She set it carefully on a shelf. Step back. 1 crisis at a time. The vault door, 3 tons of steel, locked from inside. She checked the control panel. Emergency lockdown required biometric authorization to reverse. A fail-safe. Her fingerprints had been deleted 3 years ago. She was trapped. With 5 dead hostiles, 1 dying traitor, and a bioweapon. Outside, muffled sounds. Gunfire, shouting. The QRF had arrived. Better late than never. Vivian sat down, back against concrete. The Glock in her lap. 3 rounds remaining. Not that she'd need them. The fight was over. Package Delta secured, Sterling captured. The assault force dead or scattered. But Volkov had escaped. The architect of this nightmare. The man who'd killed Whitmore's partner. Who'd murdered 3 service members tonight. Gone. Free. Planning his next move. Vivian's shoulder throbbed where the bullet had grazed her. Her hands shook. Adrenaline crash. The body's response to surviving the unsurvivable. She'd fought 9 hostiles. Alone. 1 through speed and violence and ruthless efficiency. But she didn't feel victorious. She felt tired. Like the 3 years of hiding had cost more than she'd realized. Sterling lost consciousness. Shock. Blood loss. He'd live if they got him out soon. Vivian closed her eyes, just to breathe, to process, to remember she was still human underneath the weapon. The radio on her vest crackled. Whitmore's voice, strained but alive. Vivian, report. She keyed the transmit button. Alive. Sub-level 3 vault, sealed inside. Package Delta secured. Sterling in custody. 8 hostiles KIA. Volkov escaped. Silence for 3 seconds. Then emotion she rarely heard from Whitmore. Good work, soldier. QRF is securing the area. Commander Blackwell wants to speak with you. Hold position. Not going anywhere, sir. We'll get you out. 20 minutes. Copy. The radio went silent. 20 minutes alone with her thoughts, with what she'd done, with what she'd become again. Ghost. She tried to bury that identity, tried to become small, safe, harmless. But tonight proved what Whitmore had always known. Ghost wasn't something you could bury. Ghost was who Vivian really was. Some people were made for normal lives, for families and mortgages and peace. Vivian Ashford was made for dark places. Impossible fights, for being what monsters feared. She just had to decide if she could live with that truth. 20 minutes later, the vault door opened. Emergency lights flooded in. Voices, authoritative, military. Federal agents' hands where we can see them. Vivian stood slowly, hands raised, the Glock on the floor. She knew the procedure, knew she looked like a threat. Vivian Ashford, Chief Instructor, Naval Special Warfare. She kept her voice level. Package Delta is secure, one hostile in custody. Request immediate medical. The tactical team entered. Secured Sterling first, got him on a stretcher, then secured the vault. The bodies, Package Delta. Only then did they approach Vivian, a senior agent, maybe 40. Hard eyes. Chief Instructor Ashford, I'm Agent Morrison, FBI. You're under arrest pending investigation. 8 counts of homicide, theft of military property, unauthorized combat operations. Vivian didn't resist. Let them cuff her. Let them read her rights. This was how it had to go. The system had to work. Outside the vault, the corridor was full of personnel. MPs, FBI, medical teams, and standing apart from everyone, Colonel Theodore Whitmore. Their eyes met. He nodded once. Pride, relief, approval. She'd done what he'd trained her to do. She'd been Ghost when Ghost was needed. She'd saved lives, secured the weapon, won the unwinnable fight. The rest would sort itself. They led her to a military police vehicle, drove her to the detention facility, processed her, fingerprints, photographs, statement declined pending counsel. She was placed in a holding cell, 8 by 10 feet, concrete walls, metal bed. Vivian sat on the bed, closed her eyes, and for the first time in 36 hours she slept. She dreamed of falling through ceilings, of gunfire and blood, of Sterling's face when she'd shot him, of Volkov's voice on the radio laughing. But she slept, because her body demanded it, because the immediate fight was over. She woke 6 hours later, Saturday morning, sunlight through the small window. The door opened. Commander Harrison Blackwell entered. Behind him, a man in a suit, JAG officer. Blackwell looked at her for a long moment. His expression was complicated: anger, respect, confusion, relief. Chief Instructor Ashford. He used her old rank. You have a lot of explaining to do. Yes, sir. 8 enemy combatants dead, all by you, in a sealed vault, after you'd been flagged as a potential security threat. He paused. And yet Package Delta is secure. Sterling is in custody and talking. Colonel Whitmore says you saved this base from catastrophic attack. Yes, sir. The security footage, the video showing you infiltrating the armory. FBI analyzed it. Deep fake. Sophisticated, but fake. Yes, sir. So you were right about the deliveries, about the threat, about everything. Blackwell sat across from her. And we ignored you, dismissed you, mocked you. Vivian said nothing. Dmitry Volkov, we have reports he escaped through the north perimeter. Border Patrol alerted. FBI coordinating with international agencies. Will you find him? Blackwell's jaw tightened. We'll try. But men like Volkov don't get caught unless they want to be. The lawyer cleared his throat. Commander, the charges. What charges? Blackwell's voice was flat. Chief Instructor Ashford was responding to a credible threat. She used appropriate force to neutralize hostile combatants during an active assault. She secured a classified weapon and captured a traitor. Everything she did was lawful. The lawyer blinked. But the investigation will conclude that Ashford is a hero. Blackwell stood. You're free to go, effective immediately. Vivian stood slowly, testing if this was real. There's more. Blackwell pulled a folder from under his arm. I've been authorized to offer you a position. Chief Instructor, Advanced Combat Training Program. Rebuilding what we lost when you transferred. Sir, Before you answer, he handed her a letter, handwritten, shaky script. Chief Instructor Ashford, I watched the news. Saw what you did. You saved lives. The same way you tried to save me 3 years ago. My accident wasn't your fault. It was mine. I disobeyed orders. I was arrogant. I blamed you because it was easier than blaming myself. I'm sorry. You're the best instructor the Navy ever had. Go back, teach them, save more lives. That's an order. Semper Fi, Dylan Mitchell. Vivian's hands trembled. She read it twice. The forgiveness didn't disappear. What's your answer? Blackwell asked quietly. Vivian looked at the folder, at the future, at the chance to be ghost not as a curse but as a calling. I have one condition, sir. Name it. I teach my way, full transparency. The students need to know who I am, what I've done, what I'm capable of. She met his eyes. No more pretending. Blackwell smiled. Agreed. Welcome back, Ghost. But the celebration was premature. Because 300 miles north in a safe house outside San Francisco, Dmitry Volkov watched the news coverage, saw Vivian's face, read the headlines about the hero instructor. He smiled. Patient. Dangerous. Round one goes to you, Ghost. He spoke to the screen. But I'm not finished. Whitmore is old. Fragile. And you have students now, people you care about. Weaknesses. He turned to his remaining operatives. 5 men, survivors. We regroup, we plan, we wait. His smile widened. And when she's comfortable, when she thinks she's won, that's when we take everything. The war wasn't over. It was just beginning. Monday morning, 0500 hours. The sun was a promise on the eastern horizon. The training mat in Building 7 was cold, empty, waiting. Vivian stood at the front of the room. She wore the instructor uniform, black tactical pants, dark compression shirt, the vest with ghosts stenciled across the chest. No more cardigans, no more hiding, the knife on her belt. The one that had killed a man Friday night. Cleaned, sharp, ready. At exactly 0500, 15 candidates entered. Young, strong, confident, future SEALs, future warriors. And in the back, moving with a slight limp, Lieutenant Declan Mercer. He'd volunteered for retraining, asked specifically for Ghost First Class. They lined up, stood at attention, waited. Vivian walked the line, looked each one in the eye. Let them see her, the warrior, not the paper pusher, not the invisible woman. Good morning, I'm Chief Instructor Vivian Ashford, call sign Ghost. Her voice carried, clear, strong, certain. For the next 12 weeks, I will teach you to fight. Not techniques, not tactics, not standard procedures. She paused. I will teach you to be invisible until the moment you strike, to be underestimated until you prove them wrong, to survive when survival seems impossible. She looked at each face. I will teach you what Colonel Theodore Whitmore taught me, what 40 years of Cold War experience taught him, what shadows and silence taught all of us. I will teach you to be ghosts. The candidates stood straighter, ready. Mercer spoke from the back. What's the first lesson, Chief? Vivian turned to the mat. The first lesson is simple. Find me. She moved. They tried to track her. Failed. She was already behind them, already demonstrating, already teaching. Ghost was back. Not hiding, not broken, just invisible until she chose not to be. The first week was brutal. Vivian pushed them harder than any instructor had before. Not physically, mentally. Taught them to think like predators, to see the world in terms of advantages and vulnerabilities, to understand that size and strength meant nothing against proper technique and timing. Mercer struggled most. He'd spent 15 years relying on physical dominance, on being the biggest, strongest, fastest. Ghost methods required him to unlearn everything he thought he knew. You're thinking like prey, Vivian told him after a particularly bad sparring session. Prey runs or fights. Predators wait, plan, strike when the moment is perfect. I'm not a predator. I'm a soldier. Then you'll die like one. Brave, honorable, dead. She moved to the mat. Attack me. Full speed, full strength. Mercer hesitated. Chief, I outweigh you by 80 pounds. I know, attack me. He did. A textbook tackle. Fast, powerful, exactly what he'd been taught. Vivian wasn't there. She'd pivoted, used his momentum, redirected him into the wall. He hit hard, slid down, dazed. Predators don't meet strength with strength. They turn strength into weakness. She offered a hand, helped him up. Again, and this time think. They trained until he understood, until he could feel the shift from soldier to hunter, from warrior to ghost. The second week, Commander Blackwell pulled Vivian aside. FBI has updates on Volkov. They sat in his office. The door closed. The news wasn't good. He's gone dark. No credit card usage. No phone signals. No border crossings we can track. Blackwell's expression was grim. Sterling's talking, giving us everything. Volkov's network, his resources, his patterns. But the man himself vanished. He's not vanished. Vivian's voice was quiet. He's waiting, planning his next move. Against you, against Whitmore, against me, against everyone who stopped him. She looked at the tactical map on Blackwell's wall, at the pins marking Volkov's known locations. He's patient. He can wait years if necessary. We've assigned protection to Colonel Whitmore. 2 agents, 24/7 coverage. It won't be enough. Vivian stood. Men like Volkov don't give up. They adapt. They learn. They come back stronger. What do you suggest? I suggest we don't wait for him to attack. We find him first. She met Blackwell's eyes. But that's not my job anymore. My job is to train these candidates, to make sure the next generation is ready for whatever comes. And if Volkov comes for you, then he'll learn what happens when you hunt ghosts in the shadows. Sometimes the shadow hunts back. The third week, Vivian received a visitor. Dylan Mitchell wheeled into the training center. First time he'd been on base in 3 years. Corporal Samantha Kendrick pushed his wheelchair. She'd recovered from her ordeal. Physical wounds healed faster than psychological ones, but she was working through it. Chief Instructor, Mitchell's voice was stronger than Vivian remembered. Permission to observe training. Granted. She helped Kendrick position his wheelchair at the edge of the mat. How are you, Dylan? Better. Physical therapy's going well. I'm walking with braces now, a little. He watched the candidates running drills. I saw what you did. Friday night. The news said you fought 9 trained soldiers. Alone. I did what I was trained to do. No. Mitchell's voice was firm. You did what you trained yourself to do, despite what happened to me, despite 3 years of guilt. You became Ghost again. Vivian knelt beside his wheelchair. Eye level. I'm sorry, Dylan, for everything, for not preventing your accident, for stop. He held up a hand. I read the accident report, the real one, not the sanitized version. You told me 3 times not to attempt that technique. 3 times I ignored you. I was showing off, being cocky, and I paid for it. He looked at his legs, at the braces visible beneath his pants. But you know what? I'm not dead. I'm not useless. I'm getting my physical therapy degree, going to work with wounded veterans, help them adapt. Overcome. He met her eyes. You taught me that. Not in the training, but after. By showing me that breaking doesn't mean ending. That you can come back from anything if you are willing to fight. Vivian's throat tightened. Dylan. So thank you for not giving up. Even when I was too stupid and angry to see what you were doing. He smiled. Now teach these idiots what you taught me. Make them ghosts. That evening, Vivian visited Whitmore at his home. A small house in La Jolla, ocean view, books everywhere, the accumulated knowledge of 40 years in the intelligence community. You look tired, he said. Poured her coffee. Strong, black, the way she liked it. I am tired. She sat on his porch, watched the sunset over the Pacific. Training is going well. The candidates are adapting, Mercer especially. He's starting to understand. But Volkov is out there, planning, waiting, and I can't shake the feeling that Friday night wasn't the end. It was the opening move. Whitmore sat beside her, silent for a long moment. Then I got a call today from an old friend, still has CIA connections. Vivian turned to look at him. Volkov was spotted 2 days ago, Mexico City, meeting with someone from Russian SVR. Whitmore's face was grim. He's not working alone anymore. He's got state sponsorship, resources, support. Coming after you. Coming after both of us, and anyone we care about. He sipped his coffee. I'm 72 years old, Vivian. I've had a good life, a long life. If Volkov wants me, I've made peace with that. I haven't. I know, which is why I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you years ago. He pulled an envelope from his jacket, aged, worn, the kind of letter that had been carried for a long time. This is from Daniel, my partner. He wrote it 3 days before Volkov killed him in Vienna. Asked me to give it to his daughter if anything happened to him. Whitmore's hands trembled slightly. But Daniel didn't have a daughter. It took me years to understand. He meant you, future tense, the student I'd train, the warrior I'd build, the legacy I'd leave. He handed her the letter, inside in handwriting that she'd never seen, words that felt like prophecy. To the warrior Whitmore will train someday. You're reading this because I'm gone, because the world is dangerous and good people die. But you're also reading this because Whitmore saw something in you. Potential, strength, the ability to be what others can't. Don't waste it. Don't hide from it. The world needs ghosts, needs invisible warriors who protect the innocent and hunt the monsters. Be that. Be what Whitmore and I tried to be. Be better. And when the darkness comes, because it always comes, remember, shadows don't fear the dark. They live in it, thrive in it. Be the shadow that protects the light. DB. Vivian read it twice. 3 times, the words didn't change. He knew. Her voice was quiet. He knew Volkov would come back eventually. Yes, and he knew I'd need someone to pass the legacy to, someone who could finish what we started. Whitmore stood, walked to the railing. 40 years ago, Volkov swore he'd take everything I loved. He killed Daniel, destroyed my partnership with CIA, forced me into retirement. He's taken everything except you. And he'll try. Yes, Whitmore turned to face her. Which is why I need to end this, my way, my terms, before he hurts anyone else. Vivian stood. What are you planning? What I should have done in 40 years ago, hunt him down, finish it. His voice was steel. He's in Mexico City. I have contacts, resources. I can find him. You can't go alone. You need backup, need support. I need to do this before I'm too old to do it at all. He smiled, sad, final. I'm dying, Vivian. Cancer, pancreatic. 3 months, maybe 4. The doctors told me 6 weeks ago. I haven't told anyone else. The world tilted. No, you can't. I can and I am, which means I have one last mission, one last chance to protect the people I care about, to end Volkov before he ends them. He gripped her shoulders. You're the best student I ever had, the finest warrior I've ever known. You don't need me anymore. You never really did. You just needed to believe in yourself. Colonel, teach them, train them, make them ghosts. That's your mission now. Mine is to make sure Volkov never threatens them. He released her shoulders. I leave tomorrow. FBI doesn't know. Blackwell doesn't know. Only you. Keep training. Keep building. And when I don't come back, stop. Don't talk like that. When I don't come back, he continued, voice gentle but firm, you'll find a box in my closet, my old operational files, everything I learned in 40 years, Cold War tactics, interrogation techniques, psychological operations, all of it. Use it, teach it, pass it on. Vivian's eyes burned. You're going on a suicide mission. I'm going to finish what I started in Berlin. Whether I survive is irrelevant. What matters is stopping him, protecting you, protecting the next generation. He smiled. Besides, better to die on my feet hunting monsters than in a hospital bed forgetting my own name. I'm coming with you. No, you're staying here, training your students, being ghost. That's how you honor what I taught you. Not by dying with me, by living, teaching, building the future. He moved to the door. Goodbye, Vivian. It's been an honor. He went inside, left her standing on the porch, watching the sunset, knowing she'd never see him again. She should have stopped him, should have called Blackwell, called the FBI, called someone. But she didn't, because Theodore Whitmore had earned the right to die on his own terms, fighting, protecting the people he loved, going out as a warrior, the way Daniel Brennan had, the way all ghosts eventually did. So she stood there until the sun disappeared, until the stars came out, until she was ready to walk away from the father figure who'd saved her, trained her, loved her as the daughter he'd never had. Then she drove back to base, back to her apartment, back to the life Whitmore had built for her. And she cried. For the first time in 3 years, Vivian Ashford let herself cry. Not from guilt, not from fear, from grief, from gratitude, from the knowledge that some people burned bright and fast, left marks on the world that never faded. Theodore Whitmore was one of those people, and she would make sure his legacy never died. 5 days later, the call came. Commander Blackwell's office. 0600 hours. Urgent. Vivian knew before she walked through the door. Blackwell's face said everything. Sit down. She remained standing. Colonel Whitmore? Yes. Blackwell pulled up a file on his computer. FBI received a report from Mexican authorities. An incident in Mexico City, warehouse district. One American male, 72 years old, multiple gunshot wounds. Is he? He's alive, barely, in a Mexican hospital. Critical condition. Blackwell turned the screen toward her. But Dmitry Volkov is dead. Whitmore killed him, and 4 of his men, before he collapsed from his injuries. The photograph showed a warehouse, bodies, blood, and Volkov, his dead eyes staring at nothing. 2 bullets center mass, 1 in the head. Professional work. Even dying Whitmore had been precise. Whitmore left a note, said he was finishing old business. That you knew. Blackwell's voice was hard. Did you? Yes. And you didn't stop him? No. Vivian met his eyes. Because he earned the right to choose. To go out fighting instead of dying slowly. To protect the people he cared about the only way he knew how. By committing murder in a foreign country. By ending a threat that had haunted him for 40 years. By making sure Volkov could never hurt anyone again. By being a warrior until the very end. Her voice didn't waver. You want to court-martial me for not stopping him, fine. Do it. But Theodore Whitmore saved this base. Saved my life. Saved countless operators over 40 years of service. He gets to choose how his story ends. Blackwell was silent for 30 seconds. Then, Mexican authorities are ruling it self-defense. Volkov and his men fired first. Whitmore was defending himself. No charges will be filed. And his condition? Doctors give him 2 days, maybe 3. The cancer was already killing him. The gunshot wounds just accelerated it. Blackwell's expression softened slightly. You should go. Say goodbye. He's asking for you. Vivian took emergency leave, flew to Mexico City. The hospital was small, clean, efficient. Whitmore looked smaller in the bed. Tubes, monitors, machines keeping him alive a little longer. His face was gray, his breathing shallow. But his eyes, when they opened, were still sharp. Ghost. His voice was barely a whisper. You came. Of course I came. She pulled a chair close, took his hand. It was cold, fragile. You stupid, stubborn old man. What were you thinking? I was thinking. I wanted to finish what I started. Protect you one last time. He smiled weakly. Did I do good? You did good. Tears ran down her face. Volkov's dead. His network is dismantled. Sterling's testimony shut down the entire operation. You saved lives. You always saved lives. Then I die. Content. His grip tightened slightly. Listen. Important. The box. My files. They're not just tactics. They're my confession. Things I did. Cold War. Black operations. Some of it. Not proud of. I don't care. You should, because warriors, we do dark things, necessary things, but dark. He coughed, winced. Don't hide from what you are. Don't bury Ghost again. But don't become what I became. Cold, ruthless, willing to sacrifice anything. You sacrificed yourself. For me. For everyone. That's different. That's atonement. His breathing became more labored. Promise me. Teach them better. Teach them to be ghosts. But also to be human. To feel the weight of what they do. To never forget that taking a life, even an enemy's, costs something. I promise. And promise me you'll live. Not just survive. Live. Find someone. Love someone. Have something. Outside the shadows. His eyes were closing. Don't die alone. Like me. Don't let the mission be everything. Theodore, promise. I promise, he smiled. Good, then I can rest. His voice was fading. Goodbye, Ghost. You were my finest creation, my daughter, in all but blood. I love. The monitors changed tone. Doctors rushed in. Vivian was ushered out. She stood in the hallway, listened to the sounds, the urgent voices, the medical terminology. Then silence. And the doctor emerging, removing his gloves, shaking his head. I'm sorry, he's gone. Vivian nodded, couldn't speak, couldn't process, could only stand there in the sterile Mexican hospital and feel the weight of the world settling on her shoulders. The legacy, the responsibility, the future, all of it now hers to carry. Theodore Ironside Whitmore, age 72, Cold War veteran, CIA operations officer, chief instructor, father figure, gone, but not forgotten, never forgotten. 2 weeks later, the memorial service, military honors, flag-draped coffin, 21-gun salute. The ceremony for a warrior who'd given 40 years to his country. Vivian gave the eulogy, her voice steady despite the grief. Colonel Whitmore taught me many things, how to fight, how to survive, how to be invisible until the moment I chose to be seen. But the most important lesson wasn't tactical. It was philosophical. He taught me that being a warrior isn't about killing. It's about protecting, about standing between good people and the monsters who'd hurt them, about being willing to enter the darkness so others don't have to. She looked at the assembled crowd, operators, instructors, students, people whose lives Whitmore had touched. He also taught me that legacy isn't about what you do. It's about what you inspire others to do. Every operator he trained, every technique he developed, every lesson he taught, that's his legacy. And it lives on in all of us, in every student who learns to fight, in every innocent life protected, in every monster stopped. Colonel Theodore Whitmore died as he lived, fighting, protecting, being exactly what the world needed. We should all be so lucky. We should all be so brave. She saluted the coffin. Rest easy, Ironside. The watch continues. The shadows are protected. The next generation is ready. You trained us well, and we won't let you down. The ceremony ended. The coffin was interred. People offered condolences. Vivian accepted them mechanically, still processing, still grieving. Dylan Mitchell wheeled over. He was proud of you. He told me. Last time I saw him, said you'd surpassed him, become something he'd never imagined. I was just doing what he taught me. No, you were doing what he inspired you to do. There's a difference. Mitchell squeezed her hand. Don't let this break you again. He wouldn't want that. He'd want you to keep teaching, keep building, keep being Ghost. That night, Vivian went to Whitmore's house, used the key he'd left her, found the box in his closet, inside files, decades of operational reports, mission debriefs, tactical analyses, the accumulated wisdom of a Cold War warrior, and at the bottom, a letter addressed to her. Vivian, if you're reading this, I'm gone. Either dead on a mission or dead from the cancer. Either way, I chose my ending. That's important. We all deserve that. To choose how our story ends, I chose to die protecting you, protecting the future. No regrets. Now it's your turn to choose. You can hide again, bury Ghost, live small and safe and invisible, or you can embrace what you are. The finest warrior I ever trained, the woman who fights in shadows and protects the light, the instructor who will train the next generation. I hope you choose the latter. The world needs ghosts like you, needs warriors who understand that violence is sometimes necessary but never enjoyable, who can kill when required but grieve for the necessity, who live in darkness but never become dark themselves. That's who you are, Vivian. That's who I trained you to be, not a killer, a protector, not a monster, a warrior. Remember that, always, and remember me, not as the dying old man, but as the instructor who believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself, who saw Ghost when you only saw broken, who loved you as a daughter because I did. It do. Even in death, I'm proud of you. Now go, teach, build, protect. Be the Ghost the world needs. With all my love, Theodore Whitmore. P.S. The chess game in the classroom. I left it unfinished on purpose. White can still win, but only if you see the move I saw. Figure it out. That's your final lesson. Vivian read the letter 3 times, then carefully folded it, put it in her pocket, carried it with her. The next morning, she stood at the front of the training room. Her class assembled, 15 candidates, Mercer, all watching her. New lesson today, she said. Grief, how to process it, how to use it, how to fight through it. She told them about Whitmore, about his sacrifice, about his death, about what he'd taught her. Warriors die, it's inevitable. What matters is how we honor them, not with sadness, with action, by being what they trained us to be, by protecting what they protected, by continuing the mission. She moved to the mat. So today we train harder. We fight better. We become the ghosts Colonel Whitmore envisioned. Not because it's easy, because it's necessary, because the world needs warriors who can enter the darkness without becoming dark, who can kill when required but never enjoy it, who protect the innocent and hunt the monsters. That's what ghost means, not invisible killer, invisible protector. She looked at each face. Now let's begin. The training was intense, brutal, but necessary. By the end of the day, every candidate understood the weight, the responsibility, the honor. That evening, Vivian returned to the classroom, the one in training Wing D. The chessboard was still there, the unfinished game, white in a seemingly hopeless position. Black about to win, she studied it, saw what Whitmore had seen, the move that changed everything, the sacrifice that led to victory. She moved the white queen, put herself in danger, exposed, vulnerable, but it forced black into a response. And that response opened up white's bishop, which led to a fork, which led to checkmate in 3 moves. Sacrifice leading to victory. The lesson Whitmore had learned in Berlin, had lived by for 40 years, had died teaching. Vivian smiled through tears. I see it, Colonel. I see the move. Thank you for everything, for never giving up on me, for believing I could be more than broken, for loving me as a daughter. She whispered to the empty room. Rest easy. The mission continues. Ghost is ready. 6 months later, the Advanced Combat Training Program was thriving. 70 new candidates. Mercer had completed training, now assisted as junior instructor. Dylan Mitchell worked as physical therapist, helped injured operators recover. The team was complete. Vivian stood in Commander Blackwell's office. FBI closed the Volkov case, Blackwell said. His entire network dismantled. Sterling's testimony led to 17 arrests. Arms dealers, corrupt officials, Russian intelligence officers. The whole operation is finished. Good. And you, how are you doing? Vivian considered the question. Better. Whitmore taught me that grief doesn't mean weakness. It means you cared. I'll always grieve him, but I'll honor him by being what he trained me to be. Ghost. Yes, but also human. That was his final lesson. Be dangerous but not dark. Be lethal but not lifeless. Be a warrior who protects, not just kills. She looked out the window, at the base, at the young operators training. That's what I'm teaching them, what he would have wanted. He'd be proud. I hope so. Monday morning, 500 hours, 6 months after Whitmore's death. The training mat was full. New class, new faces, same mission. Vivian stood at the front, the vest with Ghost, the knife on her belt, the confidence of someone who'd found her purpose. Good morning, I'm Chief Instructor Vivian Ashford. Call sign Ghost. Her voice carried. For 12 weeks I will teach you to be invisible warriors, to protect innocence and hunt monsters, to fight in shadows without becoming shadows. She paused, looked at each candidate. This program is named the Whitmore Protocol, after Colonel Theodore Whitmore, the finest warrior I ever knew. The man who taught me that being Ghost isn't about killing, it's about protecting, about being what the world needs when the darkness comes. You'll learn tactics, techniques, but more importantly, you'll learn why we fight, what we protect, who we are underneath the weapon. She moved to the mat. Welcome to hell. Let's begin. The training started, intense, focused, building the next generation. And in the back of the room in the shadows where ghosts live, Vivian felt it, Whitmore's presence, his approval, his pride. The mission continued. The legacy lived on. The shadows were protected. And Vivian Ashford, chief instructor, call sign Ghost, was finally at peace with who she was. Not broken, not hiding, not afraid, just a warrior. Doing what warriors do, protecting those who needed protecting, training the next generation, living in the darkness so others could live in the light. The invisible protector, the shadow that defends, the ghost that never truly dies. Because legacy isn't what you do, it's what you inspire others to do. And Theodore Whitmore had inspired the finest warrior of a generation, a warrior who would inspire the next, and the next, forever. The shadows were in good hands.